know how to find the unseen defect in that home you're about to sell or buy? It's an important consideration. Let's talk about it. Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm Terry Pasquarelli with MVP Realty, and I have a great opportunity today to talk to one of our home inspectors, Anthony Tomei from Professional Home Inspections. And we're going to talk all things home inspection today and hopefully give our viewers a little bit of insight about what they might expect. And I think the first thing off the bat is the importance of home inspection. Can you talk a little bit to us about what you're looking for when you're inspecting a single family home or a condo or a townhouse that is going to maybe uncover something that's going on and maybe not so visible?
Sure. And the importance of the home inspection, of course, is you're going to find some defects, items that you don't know about because you're just not looking in those areas. Just even sometimes the sellers themselves aren't even aware of it. So we try to bring those things to your attention, take photographs of those and document it so that you can use that to help make up your mind about the decision of the purchase, or if you're moving forward, or things that need to be taken care of prior to your purchasing it. So we're looking for anything mechanically related. We basically test everything, put our hands on everything, outlets, run all appliances, windows, doors, locks. We get in the attic, we crawl, we walk the roof. So we're looking for any structural defects, we're looking for any mechanical defects, plumbing leaks, any kind of electrical problems. So we're pretty much testing everything.
And I think one thing I remember from being at some home inspections is you can get to a lot of those different parts of the home, but if things are blocked because of either big furniture or some kind of structure in the home, you're not going behind a wall, or you can't really, undo something that's in place, right? So people should be aware of that.
Yes, it's basically a non-invasive inspection. We're not allowed to open things up other than the electric panel, things like that. I mean, if it's accessible, we'll get to it.
Absolutely. Now, when you're inspecting a home, sometimes it seems that general inspector is going to call on some colleagues. There might be a pool involved in a single family home. And I'm not sure if I've seen you in a wetsuit jumping in the pool.
Nope.
But are there some colleagues that you would tend to call in who specialize in some aspect of home inspection to make this process more complete?
Yes, and I use the same guys each job. So I do have a pool contractor that comes and takes care of the pool, looks at the pool finish, the equipment. And the good thing about him is if there is a concern or a problem, he can say this is what the cost to repair or replace these items as well. So that's his profession, that he's very good at that. And then I've got another gentleman that does mold, radon, and termite. They do all three of those together. And if I have a very, very high roof, I have a roofer comes and he gets his big ladder out, and he goes up on that roof and checks it out if I can't get it myself.
That makes sense. And usually that's something that gets coordinated through an office like yours. So for a client, it could be a one-stop phone call, setting it all up. And because you know other people who are licensed in the trade, they don't have to try to guess who the best inspectors are to bring as a team, a resource group to make sure they get through the process.
And the good thing is we can coordinate so they're all there at the same time, so you don't have to come back and forth to the house, or the buyers don't have to be there several times either.
And that's really respectful for the seller as well. The seller probably feels like there's a lot of stress in packing and getting ready to move and wanting that deal to go through, and they certainly are not looking for 4 different appointments for those things. So I'm sure it's greatly appreciated when it can all be arranged and taken care of. And it's really important from our perspective too, as real estate professionals helping our customers, because part of the way the contracts are written, they really want us to work with the customer to go back to the seller one time, not piecemeal, not say, oh, I found something about the roof, oh, there's a question about the pool, but to really bring all those reports together in a comparable time frame. And you are on the clock within some of these Florida contracts, and so it's really great to be able to have everything organized, the appointments are set, the data comes back faster than I ever remember. And I guess that's a lot of technology that you and your fellow inspectors use as well in terms of getting reports out to people in what seems like lightning speed sometimes.
Yeah, I do same-day inspections, but the mold, it takes another day, radon takes 2 days. Pool usually will get the same day as well, so yes.
That makes sense. Now, is that because you're inputting things as you go, or you have some electronic applications that help you to collect data? How do you
I just
get
make
that
my
done?
notes, and I do them every night just because it's fresh on my mind. I like to remember what I saw and did, and so I can elaborate in the report.
Makes sense. And I think the other thing that's great is your accessibility when someone may read the report but have a question. It's not always their expertise, and they may not be sure what it means, and to have the invitation to call and follow up and maybe get it explained again.
Certainly.
Even if you explained it in the moment,
Yes.
there's a lot going on. But people can call back and make sure that they understand.
Absolutely. I
the
encourage
impact.
that. I actually like when they do call because I can try to educate them if they have no idea what it says and or what they don't understand it. But I do like to talk about it if they have questions. Absolutely.
That makes sense. Now, sometimes buyers are new to Florida, and there's terminology that comes up here that may not have come up in their past experience, such as, hey, what is this wind mitigation stuff? And so can you explain a little bit about wind mitigation, why it's part of the inspection process?
Sure. Matter of fact, I think Florida is the only state that has it. That might be something that will expand to other states eventually, but you're right, no one outside of Florida even knows what that is. So what it is, it's a state form. Every insurance agent and every inspector uses the same form, and it basically documents how your home would mitigate a storm. So based on things like the shape, the geometry of the roof, the tie downs in the attic, the nailing patterns, straps, window protections, all those come together. And it is a way that the insurance company will be able to rate their premium based on those questions. Some homes will mitigate a storm better than others, so those will have lower premiums, and that's what this form will do, help to reduce your premium.
And do people do wind mitigation periodically over the lifetime of a home, or is it a once and done?
No, it's actually they say the forms are only want them to last 5 years, then they want them updated, or if you had a new roof, or if you put impact windows or got shutters, any of those things that might have changed to upgrade your home, that's when you would get a new wind mitigation.
Right. Now, a pro tip could be if you're buying a condominium and you think about the fact that you may not own the roof, you can also go to the homeowners association, who probably had the wind mitigation done on behalf of the entire building that condominium is in, and ask for their most up-to-date wind mitigation form to submit to your insurance company.
That is true.
It may not be something where your inspector has access to the attic and the roof.
Yes.
Maybe you're in the sandwich floor or something like
True.
that, but your insurance company may still ask about the building itself and its integrity and want
Yes.
that wind mitigation. So don't be shy about it. Talk to your real estate professional like us, and we can help you get that information through the homeowners association. It's another key piece.
And I have done mitigations for buildings themselves. So an
see?
association, they have 20-some buildings, go out and do 20 different mitigations for those buildings.
And they're probably doing them every 5 years.
every 5
and
years, or
get-
when they got new roofs.
or when they change insurance companies
change
or
insurance
something. I
companies,
don't
exactly
know.
right.
That's great. Now, the other thing that comes to mind is, we're talking a lot and maybe assuming that that's a resale home. You're going to see what's happening. What are the thoughts about home inspections if someone is purchasing new construction?
I think it's a must. I mean, a lot of things are happening out there. A lot of homes moving very quickly. A lot of different subcontractors going from one to the next to the next. So there are a lot of things that are overlooked. A lot of things are missed. A lot of things are just sloppy. I'll give you a couple of crazy examples. Things I found.
Yeah.
One house, new construction, no insulation in the attic. The entire house was missing the insulation. But who would ever know that? Unless
my
you went up there someday. I mean, it could be 10 years from now. Like, hey, there's no insulation in this attic. I've seen that more than one time. Because it's blown in insulation, they put the drywall up first, and if no one's in the attic again, they'll never see it, they'll never know it. I had another one, it was, they were closing the next day, they wanted to do the walkthrough and the final inspection. One of the guest bathrooms had no hot water, and they may not have known that ever until they had a guest come over, so it's just those kind of things. Dryer vents not hooked up, gas lines not connected, dishwasher not wired, things like that. I find them all the time. So that's why I go through just like it was any other home, even though it's brand new construction. And again, run all the appliances, test all the mechanicals, windows, doors, locks, roof, attic. So this just like a normal home inspection, but I think it's definitely necessary. And then at other times, people do it just before the 1-year warranty's up, called a warranty inspection.
That's a great point.
That way they can document anything that the builder, so that they can get it done, and they had it in their time frame, and it's documented with photographs and the report itself with a date. So they know that, yes, we had this done, we were asking this prior to our warranty up.
So it's part of that punch list to get their
Pretty much help
customer
protect
care
them. Right.
finished up before their year's up,
Yes.
or whatever that timeline is for the builder. Are builders okay with you going in to do the early inspection when they're about to close with the buyer?
They are. They probably don't like us much, but because of the things we find. But yeah, it's necessary. Some have actually shook my hand, said, "Nice job. Hey, you want to do this before we bring our buyer," and things like that. That's happened before too. Yes, it's necessary, and they let us in all the time, no problem.
That makes sense. Now, when you talk about this, there's such a range of the systems that you're looking at and the components of homes and the functionality. What do you do to prepare to be a licensed home inspector in the state of Florida?
Well, prior to this, I was a custom home builder here in Florida for 15 years, so the construction knowledge and the background I have. So when I was doing home inspections afterwards, and they didn't even require a license yet, so I was doing about 3 years, and then the state decided, let's put this in the statutes, let's get these guys licensed so that not anybody can walk up on the street, a handyman or whatever, and say, I am a home inspector. So we did have to have a licensing test. So it's basically, I was grandfathered in because of my other license, my CBC license. So all I did was take the state test, and so it was basically
And
got that
aced it,
license.
I'm sure.
Actually, I got 100. The guy said I never saw 100 yet. I'm a good test taker.
Why did I think that? I had a feeling
So
you
anyway,
might have.
yeah. So, but other than that, it's
If
all.
someone's coming new into the business,
Yeah.
though, they are going to go through an education and
They
a
are,
testing process.
and they have some field work. In other words, basically as an apprentice.
Okay.
So they're alongside a licensed home inspector, and it's really all about experience. I mean, there are some things that I've learned still to this day, which is great. I love learning new things, but it's just experience. Some things you just know are wrong. You get a hunch about something because you've done this so long, and things just come second nature. So it's all about experience. How long you've been doing it, how many inspections have you had.
Makes sense. Now, do you go back often to do re-inspections for people before they do their final walkthrough and closing? Perhaps you did an inspection a month ago, things have either been repaired or
Yes.
worked on, and someone may say, hey, we're about to close.
Yes.
Should
And
I
they
be
don't want to go on the
comfortable?
roof and see if the broken tiles are fixed, or they want to,
Right.
or go in the attic and see if something else that might have been wrong. But yes, we do that all the time. We get the list from my defective summary, and they said they repaired everything, or these items, or they give me a list of the items they've done, and then we go back and re-inspect. At least they'll know it's done or not done.
Right. So that's another good point to think about, that's an opportunity that people don't have to give up if they want to take a look at it. Some things are pretty minor or visible and you don't really need
Right.
to do that. But there are other times, as you said, when it's up on the roof or something that's more technical in terms of a system,
Yes.
it could be a nice option to do a re-inspection and make that part of the final walkthrough that is part of the Florida contract and the opportunity for a buyer. So those are all great things. Now, one thing in the just timeliness of our conversation that I was on my mind is what's happening these days, literally here in Southwest Florida. We had a hurricane literally a month ago. And that probably has some impact on inspections or maybe re-inspections in the market, just given the potential for some unexpected things to have happened
Sure.
between the time people signed a contract and when they might be ready to close.
Right. So some of the items that are most important, of course, was there water in the area? Then we're looking at inside. We're looking at the baseboards. We're looking to see if there's been any kind of water intrusion. Again, the roof also. Is there any damage that no one can see from the ground? Same with the attic. I've done a lot of attic inspections lately to see if there's any moisture that got in there as well. So those, aside from doing a complete full home inspection again, those are the kind of the items we kind of look for: exterior structure, make sure there's no windows broken, things like that. But pretty much that.
That's quite comprehensive, and I think it's going to keep you and a lot of folks very busy these days, and
Yes.
hopefully to great comfort of the customers to be able to get that information and move forward with confidence and based on data,
Right.
which is always important. You know, it's one thing people don't always think about, but another pro tip could be if you're thinking about selling your home, it might be a great opportunity to have a home inspector like Anthony come and inspect your home before you ever list it on the market. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you've uncovered yourself things that perhaps you can readily fix and remove objections before a buyer ever comes through and schedules their own home inspection and perhaps wants to, kind of renegotiate or have to deal with something in the heat of the moment. But for a seller, it can be great peace of mind to get in front of that and then take care of some things, and they're just off the table because everything's up to date then. And you may get a few of those calls from time to time.
I do get a few of those. It's very proactive. It's an excellent idea. And one of the bigger ones is also if it was a rental property. They haven't seen it in a while, of course, even though they own it, they're selling it. Tell me what's wrong, what I need to fix, what I need to do before we put it on the market. So that does happen more often. But yes, a few proactive people, yes, inspect my home. What do I need to repair? What can I expect? And
I think that bodes well for the whole process, and anytime you can be proactive, it's usually a good thing. The other thing I love that happens from a home inspection perspective is not only these defects, if there are any, get uncovered, that are called out pretty well and defined. What is a major defect is defined inside our Florida real estate contracts, but the feedback that comes in your reports and in your debrief, and I'm thinking with probably a number of home inspectors this might be the case, is things that may not rise to the level of a defect, but are there for maybe helping a new homeowner think about proactive maintenance, things they may want to get ahead of or keep an eye on. They might be sort of acceptable now. They might be moderately kind of something starting to happen, they're not defective, the system's still working, but your reports give people a lot of other information that can help them as a homeowner really to keep up with the maintenance of their property and get ahead of the age of systems, et cetera.
True, yes. So things like age of the system, okay, it's running properly now, but it's at its life expectancy. I might make that note if it's the case. Drains, condensate drains, even though they may be still flowing, but maybe they're too close to the house. Recommend you putting them further away from the house because subterranean termites like that moisture right against the house there. Things like that. Dirty return air filters, okay, it's not defective, but you recommend that gets replaced. Maybe missing window screens. Again, I don't think the realtors really care about screen, but the owner might want to know that, or the buyer may want to know that their screens aren't there or something to that effect. So I have a column, basically in my summary, it's marginal items and then defective items. So that the marginal items would be the things that are really not, like you said, defective, but they are something to be considered or at least to know about.
Right, and so that's really for the benefit of the homeowner. They're not necessarily things that are getting negotiated with the seller, but they're great to know. And so again, that's a very comprehensive report, making sure that people have all levels of understanding. What is acceptable, what's working well, and then what may be marginal, and then things that might rise to the occasion of needing to be discussed with the seller, whether that's for a credit at closing or for repair, depending on the circumstances. So this is not a step in the process to be taken for granted. It's one that's probably one of the most important steps between going to contract and getting to closing, other than if somebody's financing. That's another big consideration. But the status of the home and the ability of everybody to move forward with confidence really comes, I think, with the home inspection, and it's a great service.
Thank you.
That's right. So now if anybody is interested in chatting with Anthony about home inspections, I'll put a link to Anthony's contact information in the description below this video with his office scheduling phone number. And that's a great way if you are looking to have a home inspection scheduled to call, get an idea of availability and the cost of the different kinds of inspections that are available to you. And if you're finding something helpful and useful in this video, I would ask you to give this a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you'll be among the first to know every time we post a new episode to the channel. And I cannot thank Anthony enough for giving us a really thorough review of things that are happening in the home inspection process. One of the key things that will get you to the closing table, and hopefully with a very successful closing, thanks to having resources and a team around you, including Anthony Tomei from Professional Home Inspections. Thanks for spending time with us today.
Thank you, it was fun.
All right, good to see you.
Same here, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.